Hello everybody, this is Aaron Dean. Welcome to the top 30 checkmates of all time. The other day we did number 30, and then we did number 29, and now we're at number 28. Now remember, when I compile this list, I look at all the games of great grandmasters and world champions. I look at some of my own games, which of course are important to me, some of my friends' games, and even just some famous types of checkmates that many people have done. But we're at number 28 today, and I'm going to show you a game of my very own that's important to me that I played in September 2020 against a legendary Indiana player by the name of Nathaniel Chris. Now, Nathaniel and I had played a match 2 years prior to this in maybe 2019, 1 year prior, and we had tied 2 games to 2. So we were going to play another 4-game match, but everybody remembers in this 4-game match the very first game, which I'm about to show you. So I was playing white and Nathaniel was playing the black pieces. I played pawn to d4 and Nathaniel played the Sicilian, pawn c5. Now, I've told you students many times before that there's many types of Sicilian, but the Sicilian that Nathaniel did in this game was the Najdorf Sicilian. Knight f3, pawn to d6, and what's the best way to open up the center? It's usually with pawns, and I opened up the center, pawn to d4. This is also called the open Sicilian. Nathaniel took on d4, I took back with my knight, and then Nathaniel played knight to f6, threatening this center pawn. What's the best way to guard that center pawn with a minor piece? Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can see the best way to guard that center pawn with a minor piece. Okay? Now, if you said pawn to f3, not right, because a minor piece is bishops or knights. And the best way to do that is knight to c3. Or you could maybe play bishop to d3. Bishops are minor pieces. You could guard it that way. So in the game, I chose knight to c3, and Nathaniel played the Najdorf Sicilian, pawn to a6. Now, back in the old days when I was a kid playing, a lot of people played the Dragon Sicilian, where you played pawn to g6, and then you fianchettoed the bishop with black. This could be very exciting, and I used to have many battles with this, usually as white. Something you might think about playing, the Dragon. But this game, Nathaniel played the Najdorf Sicilian. So right there. Oops. Pawn a6. Then I played the Fischer variation, bishop to c4, and Nathaniel then played pawn to e6. Now here I played kind of a weird looking move, bishop to b3, and the reason I did that is if I don't play bishop b3, and let's say I just castle or something, black could maybe play a move like knight takes e4, I take back, and then he forks the pieces, and I think this can be pretty good for black. And there's other reasons too, but that's one of the reasons. So after that happened, or that didn't happen, I went ahead and backed up my bishop to b3. Then Nathaniel played knight b to d7, then pawn to f4. Now I know I tell a lot of you kids not to bring your side pawns out kind of in the beginning of the game. This is a variation that's known and I've kind of studied a little bit, so it was okay to do here. But in general, what you could do is just play a move like bishop to e3. That would have been fine to develop a piece instead, or even castle. Castle would have been a pretty good move too. But I kind of had studied this wild variation, and I played it pawn to f4, and then after that Nathaniel played knight to c5, double pressuring on this pawn, and I just went ahead and played pawn f5. Look at how many things are threatening e6: the knight, the pawn, and the bishop. I was definitely attacking him. He played pawn to e5, threatening my knight, and then I just backed my knight away. Now, he took this bishop, but I've had students ask me, but Mr. Dean, they said, why didn't he go for the pawn? He can win a pawn here. Knight takes, knight takes, knight takes, and he's won a pawn. Well, why do you think? There's an awesome move I have right now with the queen that can threaten a couple different things. Pause the video and see if you can find it. Okay. If you said queen to d5, you were correct. I would be threatening checkmate and the knight at the same time. And even if the knight like runs away and guards that pawn, I would very happily, with a smile, just take that. And Nathaniel probably would have given up. So I would have loved had Nathaniel played that, but he was way too smart to fall for that trick. And so what happened is he didn't go for that extra pawn. I just moved my knight back, and then he went ahead and grabbed my bishop with his knight. What's the best way to take the bishop? Well, it's usually good to open up a file, like that rook file. So I took with the pawn, and then Nathaniel played queen c7. Now, I really wanted to play knight d5 here, but of course this other knight's stopping me. So I simply said, let's kill or make the knight go away. Bishop to g5. He did run away with his knight, and then I get to play knight to d5, threatening the queen. I was pretty happy at this point. He plays queen c6, and after queen c6, I go ahead and castle. And this game's about to end very quickly here. He then played knight to b6, and this is an interesting part of the game because I don't think I played a very good move here. I've shown this position to some masters and a grandmaster, and believe it or not, the grandmaster liked this crazy looking move, rook a5, guarding my knight, getting really good control of this d5 square. However, I showed it also to a master, and he liked pawn c4, guarding that knight, keeping it strong. I've also had some people say just take the knight. You know, all those are, I think, pretty good moves. But what I did was maybe the worst of all those moves. I played king h1. Why? I was a little afraid of the king being on this long dark square diagonal. Maybe I would get checked later. I was afraid for king safety. But I think it wasn't the best move now that I look back. So after I played that, then Nathaniel played kind of a bit of a blunder here, not a very good move. He played f6, which allowed me to make a double sacrifice that led to checkmate. So let's check this out. I went ahead after pawn to f6, and I took. Now I had to decide what to take back with, but I thought after this, I get the check, he takes back, and then I get two pawns threatening the rook. I knew he'd have to move the rook and check out my second sacrifice. Can you guys see it? Where's the second sacrifice here? Pause it if you need a little time to look at it. All right, knight takes e5. Boom. That opened up my queen on these weak light squares. My queen might be coming to check. I'm also threatening his queen. He takes. Now, some of my students said, oh, Mr. Dean, what about queen to d8 here? Well, not as great as the other options, because then he goes here, and I don't have a really good check or anything to do here. So what I did, see, even my son's yelling no. He knew that was bad. And so what I did here, after the sacrifice and take, as I went ahead and played queen to h5 check, he plays king to d7. The only other option is to block with the rook, and I'd take the rook. And what do you think my next move is, guys? I always say it's good to do an up-close check if you can. Go ahead and pause it if you need to. All right? If you said checking with the rook, I mean, that's okay, but much better, I think, is checking with the queen on f7 because I'm checking the king and threatening that rook. Now, Nathaniel, I expected that he would just run with his king, and then I would check him with a rook maybe, and chase his king all over the board. Oops, why is my rook doing that? I thought I would maybe check him with the rook and chase his king all over the board. And I would have been winning, but it might have been tricky because we were playing fast chess, but I was definitely winning the game. But Nathaniel kind of made it easy on me here. He played, after the check, he played bishop to e7 and allowed me to get checkmate in one. You guys see the move? Queen takes e7 checkmate. Now, why did he do that? Maybe he didn't like the idea of just running his queen, king all the way over the board. He might have thought that would have been just embarrassing and maybe not fun. Maybe it wouldn't have been fun for either of us. It also could be that he knew that this could be on the top 30 checkmates of all time and he wanted to be part of it. So he played bishop to e7 and I got the checkmate. So, fantastic game. Now, you're probably wondering who won the match. Well, the next game was very exciting. I won the next game, 2-0. Then, in the third game, Nathaniel played the same opening, the same Najdorf opening, and he made an improvement and beat me pretty convincingly. And then our final game, it was a really tough back-and-forth game, and I was able to pull it out and won 3-1. So it was a great match, and Nathaniel's beaten me many times also, so... but I was especially glad to get this first win, which, believe it or not, people just saw via streaming because we were just kind of playing alone during the pandemic, and the BC Chess Club, which I also recommend on Facebook. All right, guys, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you for number 27, and it will be a shock what you'll see next. Thank you very much.